I've told my story about 26,000 times, so I have a lot of practice because it's already 30 years.
For me too.
This year is the anniversary.
Yeah, that's funny because Joni told me yesterday we were almost at the same time at the same area in Bolivia. I was there from 95 to 96.
And me too.
And you were there too.
Yeah, so funny.
It is funny. Let me just introduce you so people knows who you are. And then we can start up by talking about Bolivia. I love Bolivia.
Yeah, it's a long time ago. Yeah.
We love Bolivia. Okay.
And it's just around the corner.
So, welcome to the Udstødt podcast. And I'm here with the famous #1 XJW apostate in Finland. Is that correct?
Well, there is a tough competition there because there are many others in Finland too. I'm not the only one.
You're not the only one.
No, but thank you for those kind words.
And I do not speak Finnish. So how do you pronounce your full name in Finnish?
I pronounce it Joni Valkila.
Joni Valkila. Okay, it's not that hard.
But, it's close enough.
People say Johnny and Joni and Joni.
You can use all of that, all of the above.
Because I've seen your name over the years on Reddit and it's interviewing also. So it's like, wow, you have been doing this apostate work for a lot of years.
Yes, 30 years. Yep, that's true. It's a long time.
So when we almost met in Bolivia, I was out there preaching. That was my last year as a real elder Jehovah's Witness. You were also half in, half out at that time as a Jehovah's Witness.
That's right. But I wasn't involved with Jehovah's Witnesses in Bolivia. I didn't go to meetings or anything like that. I was so far on my way out of the organization at the moment.
Okay. So why did you go to Bolivia if not for Jehovah's Witnesses and preaching?
Yeah, that was my sin. I had a girlfriend outside of the organization, and she's from Bolivia. So we went to see her home country.
Okay, so you took a step out of the congregation, and then you met this girl from Bolivia. Did you get disfellowshipped?
Yes, I did. So the underlying reason was that I stopped believing in what the religion says when I was about 18 years old. Before that, I actually believed it, like all of it. But then I started to have serious doubts. And I was in a difficult situation because all of my family, like about 70 relatives and, my siblings, parents, cousins, everybody was a Jehovah's Witness. Nobody had left in my father's family. There were about 70 Jehovah's Witness relatives. So I didn't believe it, and I was very active. I was a pioneer and a ministerial servant, and I didn't believe it.
And this is the big question.
That was a difficult situation because I knew, if I left, I would lose everybody.
But then it's the question, because I have been in the same situation. If you didn't believe it, why did you accept to be a pioneer, using so much time, wasting so much time, preaching? You should just have slipped out or something.
But I started pioneering when I was 16, and at the time I still believed it. Then, I stopped slowly to believe it. Well, I can tell you also what kind of doubts I started to have. One of the things was that when I was a pioneer, I met people and I realized that it's very, very difficult for most of them to ever become Jehovah's Witnesses. So I I started to think, well, it doesn't make much sense what Jehovah's Witnesses say that people will hear our message and then they can decide if they want to join us or not. If they don't join, then they will die in Armageddon. I did field service among, this preaching work. I did it among refugees to Finland. So I met people from all over the world.
Did any of them you met and preached for, did they join the Jehovah's Witnesses because of you?
Luckily not.
Oh.
But what it's like, Jehovah's Witnesses spend a lot of time preaching the word, and very few people join the religion.
Because they're looking for righteous people.
Yeah.
And the ones saying, no, we are not interested, they're just unrighteous.
Yeah, but I did the math. I calculated that 99.9% of the world's population are not Jehovah's Witnesses. And I realized that for most of them, it's pretty much impossible that they can ever join Jehovah's Witnesses.
Did you also have these thoughts about, they were bragging about, we are worldwide, we are represented in all countries. But then when you look at the math and you look at geography, you can see, it's mostly in the western part.
Oh, yeah.
Europe and Australia and South America, where they are already Christianed.
I looked at the numbers in your books and I was like, okay, it makes sense that in Pakistan, nobody will be saved,
No,
apparently.
Or Middle East or China.
Yeah. Of course, Jehovah's Witnesses believe two things at the same time about who will be saved in Armageddon.
Yeah.
There is one thing they believe is that only Jehovah's Witnesses will be saved. But at the same time, they believe another thing, that, maybe God will be merciful and others will be spared too. But it's very, very hard to, imagine that in the near future, God would kill most of mankind, women, children, men, including some very nice people.
Like under the flood, even babies and so on. But they have, a couple of years ago, I use it sometimes in my podcast, written directly, only if you are baptized Jehovah's Witness, you will survive Armageddon. It says directly.
They say that. They also say other things. So they believe two different things at the same time about who will survive Armageddon. But anyway, I started to think that the whole thing doesn't make sense. Of course, God could be like a really crazy person and do that. But then I wouldn't like to have anything to do with him.
What other doubts did you have besides the ones with the preaching and only 0.1%? Were there other teachings that you said this could not be?
I noticed something. I noticed that something can't be true about what Jehovah's Witnesses are saying. And that's what they say about the flood. It can't be true.
That not only Jehovah's Witnesses, all apologetics say that. That's in general for Christian beliefs. But
anyway, you just have to look around yourself a little bit, and you can. There's evidence. You can see it. Like, let's say how different animals are distributed in the world. Like Australian animals in Madagascar, and, animals in different continents. You can clearly see that it's no way it's possible that there was a flood less than 6,000 years ago where all life on Earth was killed. And then these animals from Noah's Ark walked to different continents. It doesn't make any sense. It didn't happen.
How did the penguins come? Yeah. But
anyway,
that's an easy one. Yeah.
That was important to me
at that time
because I was like 17 years old, and I realized that this is not true. I haven't been told the truth about the world. So I started to doubt many other things that Jehovah's Witnesses say.
Like, keep it coming. Because there might be some...
all of it. But then I was thinking about this just by myself.
What about the teaching of 1914 and 607 verses 587?
Because I was only thinking about this alone by myself based on information that was available to me. And I didn't read any material critical of the Jehovah's Witnesses.
So you did believe in 607 BC?
So I was, because all my life I had believed in this 1914 thing and that the end of the world is coming really soon based on that calculation. I kind of believed it, I think. But then it's very complicated because I also wasn't sure if I believe in God. So, it took 3-4 years for me to figure this out. What happened was I was sure that I didn't want to get married to a Jehovah's Witness because I realized that if I married a Jehovah's Witness, I would be very deep in the religion and there would be no way out for me.
True.
So, but I also wanted to have sex. So...
But you have a right hand, don't you?
So I know, but,
That's
I was 18 and I wanted a little bit more than my right hand. So I started to date somebody outside Jehovah's Witnesses. And that led to, because it lasted a long time, my family, my brother and my father started to question me about this. And
why you're not coming to the meetings? And did you know about your new date?
Yeah, I was fading. I went to some meetings. Anyway, my father and my brother told me that I have to confess to the elders in the congregation.
How did they find out about you, that you were dating this girl?
Yeah, they questioned me. They said, no way you've been dating this girl like 2 years and you haven't had sex. And I was like, well, that's right. Yeah.
You could just have lied. They lied to you. You can lie back. No, we are just friends.
Yeah, I know. But then, anyway.
You're an honest person.
Anyway, so there was a judicial committee, as they called it those days. Now it's elders committee.
Yeah.
The terminology keeps changing, but we will. Anyway, the elders gave me some time. They were saying, you have to stop sinning, and they said we can't recommend getting married, but that's one way of stopping sinning. And that, by the way, was forcing me to get married.
Oh, you actually did it?
No, I didn't.
Oh.
But I mean, they were forcing me under threat.
Yeah.
So today in Finland, that would be a crime because forced marriage is a crime in Finland. Can't force anybody to get married. There's a law against it. So if anybody else is in that situation in, let's say, in the Nordic countries right now, the Jehovah's Witnesses are forcing you to get married, or else, you will be shunned, you should talk to the police, preferably through, let's say, an organization that,
NGO.
is interested. That helps, because there are organizations like that can help you to, let's say, go to the police and report a crime. And it would be great if in several Nordic countries,
if just one stood up.
Yeah, if this happened, like people would go to the police and the Jehovah's Witnesses would be fined for the crimes they commit. Of course, that's very hard to happen because when you are in that situation, you're still a Jehovah's Witness, you have your family there. it's not likely that many people are able to go to the police.
But it's a good advice no matter
Yeah.
what. If just one out there say, no, this is wrong, they should not be forcing me to get married just to avoid being removed from the congregation, do it. That's
Yes.
very good. So when you were in that judicial committee, did you say directly to the elders, I don't wish to get married? And then they disfellowshipped you?
Yeah, they allowed something like 6 months for me to do something. And, well, I didn't get married. So I met with them again. And then they said, well, we have no choice. We'll disfellowship you. I mean, they probably thought that I will maybe join again. Maybe I thought so too. Maybe I thought, I may have to join Jehovah's Witnesses too again, even if I don't believe it.
At that time, you did not believe it one word.
Well,
Jehovah's Witnesses.
it was still a little complicated. Like I said, on the other hand, I thought the end might be near. On the other hand, I wasn't sure if I believe in God. So it was complicated. But when I was disfellowshipped, then I was like, okay, now I could look into criticism against Jehovah's Witnesses. Let's see what has been written about that. So
You were not
I
afraid about that, because I interviewed some other former Jehovah's Witnesses, even though they have been disfellowshipped for a long time, they did not dare to go to apostate website and look at that. It was still, the fear mongering was still in them, even though they were out. Did you have no concerns about, okay, I'm just investigating, and your feelings were intact?
Yeah, well, I was a little concerned, of course, because there had been so many warnings about, not reading any material that is critical of the Jehovah's Witnesses. But I had access to the internet, and I looked into it, and I was like, this actually makes sense, what the critics are saying.
Do you remember the website from 96?
Yeah, there were a couple of them were Norwegian.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this was in 1996, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
There was a website by Kent Steinhaug.
Yeah, I remember him.
Called Watchtower Observer.
Mm-hmm.
And there was another website by Jan Haugland.
Yeah, I remember those two.
And that was all along the Watchtower.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. And there were other websites and other discussions that I looked into. And I realized in about 20 minutes that there are very serious problems in what Jehovah's Witnesses are saying.
How were you feeling when you found out about the child abuse and it was a huge deal? Or didn't it affect that
At that
much? No?
I learned about it much later.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then I was just like, because before that I had learned about this problem among the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
Because that became like a worldwide knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe 20 years ago, it started to become.
Mm-hmm.
So then when I learned about it among Jehovah's Witnesses, I was just like, well, that doesn't surprise me. It's just like the Catholic Church.
Mm-hmm. I just remember when I first heard about this with the child abuse among Jehovah's Witnesses, I was still affected and said, no, it cannot be. I have been in a congregation, nobody would ever do that. And I knew so many Jehovah's Witnesses, of course, from Denmark, not from the United States. And I did not believe it for a long time until I really dived into it. Said, this is actually a thing out there. But it affected, I still protected Jehovah's Witnesses and say, no, it cannot be. So you went another way.
Yeah, of course, when you leave Jehovah's Witnesses in the beginning, you have this phase when, the religion is still part of your identity and dear to you, and people dear to you are in that religion. So it's hard to listen to criticism against the religion in the beginning. Yeah.
But you did listen. Do you know what became of Ken Steinhaug and the other Jan Norwegian?
No,
Because I
don't
haven't
know.
heard from them
Yeah, there's.
in a long
I don't
time.
know. I don't know.
But I remember also that, and I remember I was a little bit nervous when I looked at it. Oh, they are apostate. It was still, the chip was still inside my head. Yeah, you have all these feelings the first time you get encountered with apostates.
Yeah.
And you are a pomo today, totally physically and mentally out.
Totally. Yes. Yes.
You still don't have any, just a little bit. Nervous
like, is
of-
there some small
truth?
possibility
Yeah.
that the end of the world is coming and Jehovah's Witnesses got it right?
Yeah. You never had that after you left?
Only about maybe 30 minutes.
When is the thunder and lightning coming? Oh, maybe it's Armageddon.
No, I read so much about it, and I realized that no, it's not true what they're saying about so many things. Yeah, I
Interesting.
don't believe any of it.
No, of course not. But still, it can still be inside of you. I've been out of Jehovah's Witnesses for 25 years. And then I remember when I had my 50th birthday, there were this Danish flag. And it said, Frank, come up, you never raised the flag while they are singing the birthday song for you. I had birthdays, a lot of them, after Jehovah's Witnesses, 20 of them. And then when I was standing there, they were singing "Happy Birthday to You," and I was raising the flag. Suddenly, I was trembling. It's so interesting. I had Christmas and Easter and birthdays, of course. I have been drinking and I've been smoking pot sometimes. I have done all the things. I was totally out of Jehovah's Witnesses. But at that point, the flag is coming out. Oh, nationality. Oh, I was. Isn't that, you can still experience after all those years something that's deep inside programmed in you.
Yeah, I can see that happening. I mean, if you believed that since you were a child for many years, yeah.
Okay, so you were, after that, you went to Bolivia. So that date you have, the girlfriend, she was from Bolivia.
Yes,
And you
living
were-
in Finland.
Living in Finland.
Yeah.
And you went to Cochabamba, and that was the same period of time where I actually also were a Jehovah's Witnesses. You were not totally...
That's very interesting for us. I don't know if it's interesting for the audience.
I think it's very interesting. I can hear them ask, please tell me more. Please tell me.
Yeah.
But I mean Bolivia, I mean Cochabamba, Chiquipaya. It's a huge thing for me.
Yeah.
Because I had actually a
The
very
mango
good time
trees,
at that time. So after that Bolivian girlfriend, you had several. Yeah, they were queuing up. Okay, next.
That was my experience, totally.
You had your time of your life.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, because Jehovah's Witnesses actually believe that's how it works. You know, it's like Joseph in Egypt.
Oh,
yeah. Everybody trying to have sex with you all the time.
Unfortunately, it's not true.
Yeah. We hate to break the news to you who are still thinking about leaving. That's not how
Maybe
it
for the
works.
good-looking Jehovah's Witnesses
Yeah.
coming out, but not for us. Sorry.
No. Even us good-looking ones.
Not even us. Even us. That was a good way to phrase it. And then you became more and more active. In contrary to me, I just wanted to shut it down after Jehovah's Witnesses. I don't want to talk about it, and I don't want to have anything to do with the XJW. But it sounds like you went the other way.
Yeah. It was like the next day after they disfellowshipped me, I was like, I want to become an activist in the field. So...
And why did you have... I mean, your feelings... why did you have this urge...
Well,
instead of just said, I want to create a new life.
Well, it's because I thought that there is a serious problem here and that nobody is addressing it, and there isn't awareness of this, which was the case pretty much 30 years ago. There had been, some publicity to ex-Jehovah's Witnesses already in the 1970s, 1980s in Finland, but it was quite small.
Yeah, just an article here and there.
Yeah.
And along came the internet, and now you could suddenly get on contact with other XJWs.
Yes, yes. And we have done something about it. Not me alone, but many ex-Jehovah's Witnesses in Finland. I have counted that in the past 20 years, about 40 ex-Jehovah's Witnesses have given interviews with their own name and face. So it's no longer like one person giving their face to this problem, but it's like many people. Books have been published, TV programs. The largest newspaper in Finland has written many articles about shunning.
But when you started,
problem.
the internet was new. 96, 7, you had these fora with the Swedish and Norwegian. And how did you get in touch with other Finnish XJW? Did you create a group?
Yeah, we also had discussion forums. I actually created one.
You created one?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we have this organization, UUT. In English, it's Support for Victims of Religion. So that was established in 1993, so before I left Jehovah's Witnesses. And I actually heard about this organization for the first time in a Jehovah's Witness convention. We had this, in many countries, at least you used to have these charismatic brothers, leaders. Yeah. Not so much anymore. But back in the day, we had in Finland these charismatic personalities.
I think we all had it, yeah.
Yeah, I will mention his name. His name was Erkki Kankaanpää. And he had this thunderous voice when he spoke in conventions. And he told the audience, kind of in a ridiculous tone of voice, some people have even contacted this organization, Support for Victims of Religion, like it's a ridiculous thing. What next? And I was like, whoa, that's an opportunity.
I want to look that up.
I was making notes.
That's interesting. So he indirectly lead you to that organization.
Yeah, because, well, I don't know if I would have known about it otherwise. But yeah, I did find the organization, and then I became a volunteer, and then later I started to work for the organization. I have worked for the organization now for 13 years. Yeah, I'm still working.
You're still working for
I'm the director of the organization now.
Oh, can I touch you?
Well,
wow. Oh.
So it's
but are you paid for or is it volunteer?
No, I'm paid for this.
So it's like NGO supported by the Finnish government.
Yes,
in a way.
That's how it works. Yeah.
Wow.
So we have two people working for us, and we have about 60 volunteers.
It's a full-time work you have.
Yes, there's a lot of work.
Of course. Yeah, I know.
It's the entire country, and we deal with all religious groups in Finland, not only Jehovah's Witnesses. And there are lots of different problems in religious groups. So that's a lot of work. We would actually need more resources to do what we're doing. One thing we do is we try to have a dialogue with the religious groups. Jehovah's Witnesses, of course, don't want to have a dialogue.
No, never.
But some groups do. So one thing we try to do is explain to religious groups what the problems are and what could be done about them. We're also suggesting that the government should be doing this, because at the moment, the government is not in any kind of dialogue with religious groups. And I think they should be more interested in what is going on and in explaining to religious groups things like, what is legal in Finland, what is not legal, for example, sexual and gender minorities, how they should be treated, women's position, children's rights. These should be explained to religious groups.
Yeah, it should be. Now, if I haven't mentioned before, we are right now in Oslo. So Joni and I are actually here to follow the case in the Supreme Court in Oslo with the Jehovah's Witnesses versus the state. Do you think that something like what happened here in Norway, where the state actually takes away the registration, could happen also in Finland?
Maybe it could, but it's not happening right now. It's interesting that in Finland also the government gives funding to religious groups, and Jehovah's Witnesses would be eligible to apply for it and receive it, but they haven't been bothered to make the application.
What? So the Jehovah's Witnesses, they like all the Watchtower. Let's say Watchtower is actually more accurate. The Watchtower company, they want the fundings from all over the world.
Yes.
So you're telling me in Finland they are actually not applying for it, and why is that?
I don't know, but maybe if you know, the viewer, if you know, please mention in the comments. I'd be interested to know. So in Sweden and Norway, they are fighting in courts to get this government funding, and in Finland they are not even applying.
Maybe that's why they know what's happening in Sweden and Norway and probably also Denmark. And they're looking at that and say, no, we don't bother. We don't want to apply for this. But that's interesting. Never heard about it.
But it's been going on for a long time, even before these court cases in Norway and Sweden. Also, we have a little bit different laws in Finland, but in the future, who knows, maybe we will have something similar to Norway and Sweden, like clearer requirements that religious groups must meet to receive funding. And maybe if Jehovah's Witnesses apply for funding, I don't know, something similar could happen in Finland, but it's not happening right now.
The laws are, of course, a little different. Even though it's the Nordic countries, of course, they're different. Have you experienced during the years in your NGO organization, you mentioned before, of course, Jehovah's Witnesses don't want to have a dialogue with you, surprise. Even if you're polite and let's have an open discussion, no, they shut the doors. But have you experienced on the other way that they are trying to sue you or harass you in a way, stopping you?
Yes,
of course you say.
Of course, they will try to silence all of their critics through legal means.
What have they done?
Well, I wrote several articles, texts, a little bit longer texts about shunning, explaining it in detail. They have been published in Finnish on our website, UUT's website. And the Jehovah's Witnesses complained about the texts to the police, saying that this is hate speech, or hurting their feelings.
Hurting their reputation, their good reputation. The facade is crackling. Yeah.
Yes. Anyway, the police wrote 19 pages about why they are not starting an investigation, basically saying that, in Finland you are allowed to criticize religion, their practices. Jehovah's Witnesses complained about this decision, and they hired a very expensive lawyer. Sounds familiar? Famous, expensive lawyer in Finland. Mm-hmm. And that law firm hired a very well-known professor from a university to say that the threshold for starting an investigation must be very low. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the prosecutor General, I think that would be the correct term, they decided that the police must investigate this crime, suspected crime. Yeah. So they did. And suddenly, they interviewed me or questioned me. And this time they decided maybe there is a crime.
Oh.
So it went to the prosecutor. And last November, the prosecutor made a decision in this case. And the decision is non-prosecution. So
okay.
I was not prosecuted for a crime. I also had very good lawyer. And they argued very well, and the prosecutor took, in the decision they mentioned many things straight from what the lawyers had formulated. So the prosecutor said, there is a basis for all of this criticism.
It's interesting because it should actually be the other way around, that the police and the prosecutors, they found out, wow, this organization of Jehovah's Witnesses, they should be the ones being sued after all the information coming up. But it was, the freedom of speech.
That's another question.
Yeah.
And maybe, who knows, maybe Jehovah's Witnesses will have to answer for some of these things in the Finnish legal system in the future. Let's hope so. We come back to that it would be important to have, these recent cases. The police wants recent cases and clear cases
not 30
that
years
have
ago.
Chances of success in the legal system. And that's, it would be great to have that. But as I mentioned earlier, it's also a difficult situation for a person to be, at the same time, maybe leaving Jehovah's Witnesses and becoming shunned. And then, like, at that moment, go to the police and explain the harm that has been done. Explain that I'm losing my health as a result of this. Because that's what it is. I mean, I think shunning is a crime. It's violence. It's just as serious violence as physical assault, because it can result in a person losing their health and even, their life. Because there are many people who commit suicide as a result of this. So yeah, and societies have a responsibility to protect their citizens against violence. But at the moment, it's not happening. Societies are not protecting people from violence. Norway is trying. We'll see how it goes, and I also believe there will be cases where even though it's difficult for a person to do that, maybe it will happen. I'm hopeful because there was a case last year in Finland. It was not among Jehovah's Witnesses. It was in an Adventist church where somebody was underaged, and two people tried to make this gay person straight. And the court decided, well, that person somehow was able to take it to the legal system. And the court decided that serious harm, was done to this man. And these people were convicted and they had to pay fines. So now we have one court case like that in Finland. You know, if
precedence.
that was a crime,
Yeah.
then what Jehovah's Witnesses do to people in many cases is a crime just like that.
So the best scenario is former Jehovah's Witnesses recently disfellowshipped or removed from the congregation, excluded. Not people left 30 years ago, but young people, if they have the courage, because it takes courage, to
Yes.
stand forward and contact the police, this happened to me,
Yes.
then and maybe more than one, so they together can sue the Jehovah's Witnesses. That would be a way in also, like we see in the United States.
Yeah. It would be important for that to happen. Yeah.
But it takes courage. As we talked about in the beginning, you're still programmed in many years after. You have the feelings. And I experience it often in my podcast. People write to me, I would love to be on your podcast. I have a terrible story, but also encouragement how to get on. But it can't be now because my father is still living. My mother's still alive.
Yes.
My brother would be hurt and so on. So you're bound still by your feelings, even though you know it's injustice, even though you really want to not only be on a podcast, but sue the Jehovah's Witnesses through the police, making a case, they are still in their minds, their feelings is holding them back. So it will be difficult to find these people who dare to do it.
Yes. I will mention that there are also new laws on coercive control. In Finland, we don't have this law just yet, but we might have it in the future. There is a proposal for a new law. And like I said already, according to existing laws, what Jehovah's Witnesses do to people, could make them crimes. But this new law is even better because if it will be if it will come to be as suggested now, because the proposal for this new law is that coercive control would be criminalized, and that it would not mean only coercive control, let's say, in a relationship between, let's say a couple, but that it would also mean control, for example, in a religious group, and that there would not have to be evidence of the harm that was caused, that it would be enough that it could be reasonable to believe that there could be harm. So because sometimes in these types of cases, it's a little bit problematic, like mental kind of violence. It's sometimes a little bit problematic to prove that a harm was caused by this. Let's say a person loses their mental health. There could be many factors that contributed. Yeah. So it may be sometimes difficult to prove that this was the result of certain action. But if we had a law that says you don't have to show that the harm was caused, it's enough if you can show that, it's reasonable to believe that that kind of harm could have been caused. And that's enough. And that's what Jehovah's Witnesses definitely do with shunning. When they isolate a person from their family and their friends, sometimes all the people the person knows, it's quite reasonable to believe that that could be very, very traumatizing and very harmful for a person, even if you don't know exactly what the consequences will be.
So that's something you can see in the future might happen.
Yeah, could happen in Finland, could happen in other countries too. Anyway, it would be great to see that happen, that Jehovah's Witnesses are found guilty of this type of violence in the legal systems of, let's say, Nordic countries.
And this pressure from especially the Nordic, not only the Nordic countries, but in general, do you think that at last the watchtower, the governing body, will find new light, and then in the short future, totally change their shunning policy and say, no, now you can have beard and we don't shun people anymore. You can see your parents and everybody. Do you think at one time, not only seeing from we are suing the government and taking away the funds, but they're actually changing this shunning? Will that ever happen?
I don't have a crystal ball, but I certainly hope that they will be forced to change this shunning thing. If they did change it, that would not remove all the problems. We would still have problems such as, this religion believing that there are about 12 men in New York who can, snap their fingers and decide if you can have a beard or not, if you can accept life-saving treatment, if you have some kind of a disease. There are still problems. But if there wasn't shunning, all of those problems, also that, child sexual abuse, many of those very bad problems among Jehovah's Witnesses are related to shunning. Because, for example, victims of sexual abuse are afraid to speak because they could end up seen as, guilty of serious sin, and they could end up becoming shunned. This has happened. So for a good reason, they are shutting up. So many of these problems among Jehovah's Witnesses are related to shunning, and if there wasn't shunning, then I think many of these problems would not be as severe. If you were a Jehovah's Witness and you needed a blood transfusion, you could have a blood transfusion and you wouldn't have to be afraid that maybe I could be shunned because of this.
You keep saying shunned. I have to talk a little bit about the court case yesterday, because that was Anders Rysdahl, the Watchtower lawyer. He kept using that word and say the state lawyers say that Jehovah's Witnesses shun people, but we don't use that word shun. And then he compared it. He wanted to talk it down, even though it's social distancing. You heard that too.
Yes,
it's like under the COVID. Yeah, you social distancing. He compared it actually with COVID, and he said that, and also therapists recommend for families do not see each other for a period of time. What were your thoughts when you heard that Watchtower lawyer saying that?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense, and it's not true.
No,
and I think the court knows it's not true, because the court has done, all three of them, they have done a very good job in finding out how the shunning works among Jehovah's Witnesses.
Also the appeal court, even though they lost?
Yeah, even they knew about shunning pretty well. Yeah, I read the decision of the appeal court, and between the lines they were writing, this is Supreme Court stuff. Yeah. So we can't really know. No. We can't decide. So, we'll just flip the coin. Oh, and the state lost this time, but we'll see how it goes in the Supreme Court. Yeah.
But it was just, we talked about this yesterday, and we were a little in doubt. Do Jehovah's Witnesses use the word shun? Because Anders Rysdahl, the JW lawyer, kept focusing on the word shunning because the state lawyer used that. And this typical Watchtower rhetoric that they want to focus on this word and talk away from what is actually, it doesn't matter if we call it shunning or removing from congregation or we call it social distancing. what is it in practice? It is removing totally from the family and relatives, and they're very good at words. You know that.
Yeah. Well, he's doing his job and trying to confuse the judges.
Yeah.
But I think the courts, like I said, they have a very good understanding of how the system works among Jehovah's Witnesses. And if this is only about shunning and only about the law, the requirements of the law for religious communities in Norway, then I think this case is very clear. But then there are other laws, other things you have to take into consideration, which I think the Supreme Court will probably consider, such as, can this be discrimination against Jehovah's Witnesses? So we don't know. We'll see how things go. But whatever happens, I think this is not the end of the story.
No.
But this Norwegian society will continue to work on this. It's a new legislation. It's been tested now in the Supreme Court. And we'll see how all of this develops in the coming years. I don't think Jehovah's Witnesses are changing their shunning policies anytime soon, not very fast. I don't know. Like I said, I don't have a crystal ball. But I think they would have to lose a lot more in Norway and in other countries before they would be forced to change their shunning policies. It will be exciting to follow this during the next 10 years. And, in 10 years, we'll get back together and talk about it.
And talk about the past. Do you remember that time when I said this? And
yes.
But I didn't have a crystal ball. That was why I know that. If Watchtower lose in Norway, and it was right of the state to take away the registration, do you think that decision will affect Finland? Will the politicians, are they looking over the shoulders of what's happening here in Norway?
The politicians are not seeing what's happening in Norway, but I will try to make them see it. Mm-hmm. And I am telling people in Finland that we should do some things about government funding to religious groups, tax exemptions to religious groups, and some other things. Yeah, we already talked about some of the things that are happening. So it is, like I said, it's very important what's happening in Norway because it's the first serious attempt by a civilized country to do something about problems, these very serious problems among religious groups.
Heia Norway.
Heia Norge.
Norge, one of the best countries in the world. But you can see on the top, just over, we have the Finnish flag. You see that?
Oh, yes.
There will be, I put it on the screen. Yes. And another thing I noticed, I mentioned it before, on the text behind you on the wallpaper, it said "Mod normalt." Isn't that funny?
Yeah, that's the goal.
Actually, I should move the flag a little bit up so you can see "Mod normalt," because we want things to be normal.
Yes.
We want not, shunning. Let's just use shunning.
We don't like violence.
No, we do not like violence.
Violence is not cool.
No, it's not.
Yeah, that's our message.
It's not cool. So this will be the final words. And this is the time now, Joni, where I can use my dad humor. We're going to end this podcast. Are you finished?
The Finnish
Are
joke.
you finished?
Yes, we're finished now.
You're finished and you are finished. Or
Yes.
is there actually something you wanted to add? Something you... Oh, I was... No.
No, I have said it all. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And your long experience with being interviewed for so many times, 40 times you said, in television, radio, whatever, a podcast. Isn't it true that this is the best interview you ever had?
I would say so. Absolutely.
Yes! Mission accomplished. Thank you very much.
Thank you.